Welcome to another edition of Monday Meeting with Legacy Volleyball Club. And today we're going to spend a few minutes talking about confidence and some of the things that come with this and what we think sets athletes apart from one another. And we'll talk about some of the details behind it, how to always have confidence, and give you some resources to take a look at if this is something that you're interested in going into further. We'll start with this. We're going to pull some of our articles from the website Basketball is Psychology. In fact, there's two articles that we're going to pull some pieces from. One is Confidence, Your Life Story. And the other one coming from more of a parents and I guess kind of coaches philosophy called Be Confident is Bad Advice. So both of these articles are coming from Basketball Psychology. The other thing we're going to take a look at is something called The Confident Athlete. This book is by Tami Matheny. You can find Tami Matheny at Tami Matheny on Twitter. She has two books, one, The Confidence Journal, the other one, The Confident Athlete, 4 steps to build and maintain confidence. She's going to have some input into this conversation as we go through. And finally, at the end, we're going to talk about the release of her new book coming out later this month. So 2 inspirational pieces that were, or sites that we're going to pull our information from. So starting off, confidence is seeing your life in a positive light, even when things aren't going well. And as you go throughout this and you get the opportunity to play athletics, I think this is the one thing that I even want my kids to get from athletics is having confidence, right? And being able to take any challenge on. And you see that in the weight room, you see that in the sports field. You have people always talking about this idea of confidence and the ability that you can do whatever you put your mind to. And so really it's this idea that you're always seeing yourself in a positive light, even when things aren't going well. So that's kind of the basic understanding of this. And as I go through volleyball, you'll hear people talk about volleyball being a mental game. And it's one of the most true things. And you talk to any coach, if they ever sit down and watch volleyball, the momentum swings back and forth. And to me, momentum is just the swinging back and forth of confidence, right? And who has confidence in that they're going to get the job done, and who is a step behind and who's a step ahead, and knowing what their responsibilities are going to be. So we're going to start with this idea of inner dialogue, right? So we're always having conversations with ourselves. As you read, you're having a conversation with yourself. As you're writing a response to something, and you're always talking to yourself. But the most important part of the inner dialogue is what you think about yourself. We go down to William James, who graduated from Harvard and kind of the father of American psychology. And one of his core beliefs is that people tend to become what they think about themselves. So whatever they think about themselves, they tend to become. And as we move along, so what the question is, what do you think about yourself, right? We see this happen all the time. If you think you're great at volleyball, you'll probably be great at volleyball. If you think you're mediocre at volleyball, you're probably going to be mediocre. But this is the biggest piece right here. You have to understand that this battle of confidence is won or lost in the mind before you ever touch a volleyball. Here's a great piece that I want to share with everybody as a little story from our season. And it comes in the form of a battle against another club called Mint. And we made it all the way through to the finals. We got to the finals of this qualifier, the Ohio Valley Region qualifier. And we had battled Mintonette. Many of these girls have stayed together on the 18s team, and we have battled them throughout the course of the past 5 years. And Mintonette is always one of the top 5 teams in the country, and really, battle their way onto the national spotlight. And so we show up in the finals. And to remind you, I have an entire roster filled of Division I athletes, and they get out on the court and take a look at that score again. We lose the first set 25-6. So we're sitting here saying, what happened? How did that happen? How do we get to the finals of a qualifier and lose to a team 25-6? And it all happens with what was in our mind, what our perception was, what our confidence ability was. We had played okay throughout the tournament, and we sat there and we switched sides, and the only thing I could do was kind of laugh it off and remind all of them that, listen, you guys are amazing volleyball players. You can get after it. This team is not that much better than you. And we're just trying to speak some confidence into them and telling them what they can do. And so the next set comes around, and we were actually up in the set 18-10, taking a 2-minute net and won 25-20. And then finally, the last set, of course, was 15-13 that we lost. We ultimately got the ultimate laugh back as we beat them later on in another tournament. But this is really kind of shows this idea of confidence and the fact that it is something that happens before you even touch a volleyball, how you feel about yourself. So let's dig a little bit deeper into this and get to this point. And when I start talking about athletes and preparation and everything, we've done a few talks about, what you can do to better your skills and to be prepared. But I thought they took a very interesting twist on this. And this idea is, don't you need preparation to be confident? And they actually say it's the other way around. You actually need confidence to be prepared. Here's some of the examples they have. So, if your inner dialogue consists of you telling yourself you're never going to be great, no matter what position is, you're not going to have the confidence to go out and practice what you need to be great in. Okay. If you're telling yourself your opponent is unbeatable, you're not going to prepare a detailed scouting report about that, opponent. You're not going to be focused on what it's going to look like to win and what it's going to take to beat them, because you're going to basically give up. And so the last point says, if you've been telling yourself our team can beat anyone, and I've had those teams where they just think, we're going to beat anybody, they're going to have that confidence to invest their time because they know it can happen. And I've seen it happen the other way, where people are like, our team can't win. Our team's not going to win when it comes to third sets. Our team isn't good in the first match of the day. And it really boils down to a confidence piece. And so if you're confident in something, you're going to prepare. If you're confident you're going to win right away, you're going to go out and you're going to take the time to warm up and you're going to put the effort in because you're confident that helps you prepare. So you need confidence to prepare. Simultaneously, at the same time, you could be serving 100 or 1,000 volleyballs every day. And if game time comes around, you start telling yourself, anything but I have this, or I'm ready to do this, I have it, you won't be confident. And so confidence doesn't come solely from preparation. You could be the most prepared athlete. You could be the most prepared for a test. And all of a sudden, if you freeze when it gets to that moment, your confidence is the issue. It's not your preparation, right? So preparation makes you confident because being prepared ultimately makes your inner dialogue better. If you've worked really, really hard in practice, and so this is kind of a coaching piece for this, we do a handful of drills, and we love to do in a row because in a row helps you really, really focus and really nail down the skill that you're looking for. You have to do so many in a row. You have to do so many serves in a row, so many perfect passes in a row, being able to run middle so many times in a row. So when we get to a timeout, I can turn to my team and say, listen, we're gonna pass to run middle. We do this in drills all the time. We worked on it. We can do this. We're gonna pass to run our middle header. And if we get that pass, it's that good that we can run our middle, every option is going to be open. So we do prepare for it, but ultimately it has to come back to them of, hey, we have to have the confidence to go ahead and execute when the pressure is on. This is a key piece, and it came from the Basketball Psychology article. And I reflect upon this as a parent, especially in baseball settings when my kids get up to bat, or, hey, you can do this, or, you be confident. Coaches and parents yell that stuff out. And I never really stopped to think about this, but they point out in the article that when coaches and parents come up and say, be confident about something, what you're signaling to that player was that they weren't confident before, right? That they didn't have the confidence that was needed, or they may be perceived in the future to be lacking confidence. Hey, have some confidence in yourself, go through it. I kind of see it as like if you're having a bad day and somebody comes up and tells you, hey, you know what, you need to be happy. You don't automatically just flip that switch and say, all right, yes, sweet, I can be happy now. You have to talk to them about the things that they should be happy about and should be appreciative of. And so in the article, it goes through and it kind of talks about this other idea of the leaders point out as to why an athlete's going to perform well. And I go back to that match that we had, and I kept telling them, listen, you guys are great athletes. We've done this before. You've battled with these guys. We can do this. We can turn around and do it. And so I love this bullet point that people rise to who you tell them they are. So if I'm a coach and I'm a parent and I'm telling them how great they are and how, this is a select group of kids and you're an elite player, people are going to rise to those occasions. And think about that with you on the court with your teammates, right? We've had players who've turned around and told teammates, hey, you better not miss this serve, or, you got to keep swinging, or you have to do this. And it doesn't project confidence onto them. So when you're talking about this idea, tell them what they're going to do to perform well. I love the next piece too, fix your body language. This comes in, with conditioning. As athletes go through conditioning, our strength coach, I can just picture it in my head when I was in college, of yelling at us to stand up and project confidence as we're going through this. It's about how you attack the situation. And especially in matches that are 3 out of 5, you can tell on body language. Are players bent over? Are their hands on their knees? Are they looking down at the ground? You can just see their body language going on. So if you want somebody to have more confidence, tell them to change their body language. Stand up straight, keep your head up high, show like, hey, you know what, I'm in this, come at me, come after me as we go through this. And so body language is a big piece that as coaches, you can tell your athletes to change. And athletes, you have to be cognizant of it, right? If you're just staring down at the ground with your hands on your knees, nobody wants to go talk to you. Nobody wants to go, pat you on the back, especially if you just shanked a pass 10 rows over. You should be going to them. You should say, hey, I got the next one. It's coming to me. It's going forward. We actually were just reminiscing about a video of one of our 12-year-olds, and we were playing against Munciana Peppers a few years ago. And every time she would go to serve, she would go back and say, she would yell it out, I will make this serve. And go back, and she serves the ball in and gets it in, and point, and goes back and does it again and again. And then I love watching the team go crazy and celebrate after they win. But that's exactly it. The coach came out and said, listen, you need to say this out loud. Have that positive mindset. See yourself doing this as you're going forward. The reminding of preparation, right? We talked about that a little bit, this concept that you've done the preparation. You've done what you needed to do to get to this point, and it's why you're at that point. And then finally, for coaches and parents, the self-talk, right? What are players saying to themselves? How can you get them to correct their self-talk, to be focusing on, the outcomes that they're looking for, and to mentally picture the things that should happen? So instead of yelling, be confident, you got this, be confident, that really kind of puts it into the mindset of, well, what was wrong with them before, instead of telling them who they are. This comes out in lessons that I do all the time. And it's kind of funny that whenever I do private lessons or work with a kid one-on-one, a lot of stuff is not that bad. Like technique is not that bad, so on and so forth. It's just trying to get them confidence again. Look, you can do these passes. Look at what you're trying. Look what happens if you're an athlete, right? And so I think part of the lessons parents are looking for is not just getting better at the skill piece, because it's usually not that far off. It's the confidence piece, and trying to do something and really challenge and extend them as they go forward with that. So ultimately in the book, we're talking about this, that you get to decide whether you like it or not. You get to decide the story that's going on in your head. You get to tell yourself you can do difficult things. You get to tell yourself the best is yet to come, right? You have the potential for greatness, right? Be a legend in your own mind first. And if you can figure that out, and it's crazy. I've seen so many talented athletic kids that lose this at one point in time over the season, right? You see it in baseball. They talk about slumps, right? And having to fight through those slumps as you go through it. You have to be the legend in your own mind. You have to say, I can do this all the time, and go through it and build that up and practice it over and over and over again. So you get to decide the story. Nobody else is telling you the story that's going through your head. You get to decide what you're saying to yourself and what's going on, and to be your own champion. A few other points that I want to pass along here. This was actually tweeted out by the Confident Athlete and Coach Tami. She put this out there, and this kind of reminds me, when we envy others, we aren't able to truly appreciate our own gifts. And I think about this in these confidence situations. Who do you want taking the confidence swing, right? We do drills where we go, it's called the hot hitter drill, where we want one person to constantly score points. And we get into those clutch key situations of, who do we want passing the ball, and who do we want attacking, and all that other stuff. But if you're a player on the team, if you start to envy others and you kind of look at them, you're taking away from your own gifts and you're changing the story in your head. Well, somebody else should take the shot. Well, somebody else, should make this move. Somebody else should step up on defense. And so just a reminder that you guys have your own gifts and your own talents to the team, and have to keep that in the forefront as you go forward. Keep your story in the front of your vision and talk about you being great. We don't want to be bad teammates by any sense of the means, but we also don't want to envy others because it kind of diminishes what we have. As far as habits going in and how we build confidence, this was another tip that was brought up about the idea of focusing on the good habit you want to do, not the bad habit you don't want to do. And so again, when I go to do lessons and we're talking about serving, something simple as serving, we want to focus on what we want to do instead of me saying, don't have your arm low or don't have your hand in front of your head or don't toss the ball too high. I could give them 800 don'ts not to do. I want to focus on telling them what to do. So keep the ball out in front, right? We're going to keep the ball out in front. We're going to keep our hand back and we're going to attack it. We're going to go after it. We're going to twist and use our core. We're going to talk about all the things that we want to do for that. Not don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. When you say don't do it, they start to think about it, right? And so, it all comes back to what is in your mindset and what's going on and how do you project confidence over that, right? If you're thinking about the things you're going to do and what you're going to try, you're going to project that confidence out. One other thing that I want to leave everybody with is this calendar that's actually on Coach Tami's website, r2lc.com, and she posts a calendar called the Confident Calendar that takes place every month and just kind of gives you a list of things and exercises that you can go through, right? And she talks about in her Confident Athlete the idea of training, right? And being confident in training and being confident in working out, and how working out gives you this confidence about yourself and this feeling. Her new book coming out is This Is Good, talking about how to reframe things. That the situation that takes place, we can see the good out of it, and we can really have that self-talk to talk about how we can find the good in everything and how we can get forward with it. I think it's going to be a great book, especially for this time period when we see everything, going down and everything being changed from COVID-19. But you can see on the 22nd, there she has a link to the book and everything that's ready to go. So I want to share this with everybody because there's a confident calendar out there and just some little tips and tricks as we go through this. But ultimately, remembering that confidence is the story you're telling yourself, and that confidence is seeing your life in a positive light, even when things aren't going well. So when stuff is down and stuff is bad, right? What's your confidence at? How can you turn it around? How do you get to see your life in a positive piece, and whether it's through social media or things that haven't gone right, or stuff that's happening that you don't like, you get to see your life in that positive light. And so having this confidence piece is something that we always come back to. And I ultimately think the best teams in the country are the best teams because of the confidence that they have. At the 18s level especially, every kid is going to play college volleyball by that time. When we go to play open volleyball, there are no easy matches. Everybody wants to give it their best. Everybody has confidence in themselves. And so it really just becomes who is feeling more confident during that time and how you're playing. We make the joke that it's not who you play, it's when you play them. Is their confidence down? Are they not feeling good about themselves? And you can see teams go on runs, and teams that at the 18s level you never would expect it to do things just because they have a confidence about themselves and they built it up and they have it and they see, hey, you know what, even if something bad happens, they still got this and their mindset is still there. So I really think it's a key skill to kind of hone in on as we go through. So just a reminder, The Confident Athlete, 4 Easy Steps. It's a quick read. I think you could probably get it done in a few hours if you sat down and flipped through it. And also visiting the site, basketballpsychology.com, and 2 other articles there that they can talk about this confidence piece to kind of get you excited and get you ready to go. So with that, I wanted to thank you guys for checking in on our Monday meetings. We look forward to keep these going and continuing on as we go forward with that. So thank you for your time and have a good one.